Hi again, it's Michelle. Welcome to the third of my video slideshows describing my healthy, indulgent life strategy. This time I'll be talking about how I shop and what I prepare from all those healthy foods I was talking about last time. So I do my shopping at the supermarket usually, but sometimes at a food co-op, and in season I like to go to my local farmers markets. It's fun. I like to check out different farmers markets, different weeks, but I've got a local one that I go to most of the time. And I base my grocery shopping on produce, not on protein. So I'll go to the store or to the market with an idea of what I'm going to be wanting to eat, but I choose what looks good in the produce aisle. So sometimes I might completely change around my plan based on whether the produce looks good or bad. I also use frozen vegetables sometimes. Some vegetables freeze really well. I like frozen cauliflower especially. But recently my supermarket has been carrying frozen grilled eggplant, frozen artichokes, and frozen zucchini, and those seem to hold up really well. Not everyone is a fan of okra, but I like it, and I like frozen okra. I'll also buy frozen peas and frozen vegetable medleys. I'm not much of a fan of frozen string beans or broccoli unless I'm going to use them in soups, but lots of people like those too. So I like to keep a couple of bags of frozen vegetables around in case I'm stuck without any nice fresh produce. I also like to keep bags of frozen fruits around. I really like frozen blueberries, raspberries, peaches, strawberries, and mangoes. Then I build my weekly meal plans around the produce. I call them meal plans, but that sounds pretty formal. I don't usually have a formal menu plan. Sometimes I do, but not always. It works either way, and you should decide based on your own personality whether the structure of a meal plan will be helpful because it simplifies your choices, or if it would be too confining for you and lead you to feeling frustrated and deprived. It's just really important to know yourself and what approach works for you. You don't have to listen to what other people say about that. So when I'm building my meals, I like to build them around vegetables and then think about what kind of protein will work well with the vegetables. So I build my meals that way. The foundation is vegetables, just like the food pyramid. I call the system greens, leans, and grains. The first being greens, my veggies, then leans, nice lean or non-meat protein or fish, and then grains, a complex carbohydrate. Not every meal includes complex carbohydrates. A lot of them are based on just greens and leans. And the most recent healthy eating guidelines that you'll find online suggest what I have been calling plate geometry. You fill your plate halfway with vegetables and then the other half with protein and with carbohydrates. So 50% veggies and 25% protein, 25% carbs. Again, for me, I've been doing even more than that in veggies, and again, I don't always include carbs. Now, it doesn't always have to sit on your plate in this geometrical pattern that they show on the websites. Your plate can be a traditional plate, but as long as you have the percentages of ingredients in mind, then this approach works well as a salad, as a soup. You could do a stir fry or a casserole, almost anything. Just keep in mind that it should be at least 50% veggies and the rest protein and carbs. Now, you may or may not have noticed that I don't talk much about dairy. I haven't really mentioned it in any of these video slideshows. It's because I limit dairy. I really love cheese and ice cream. I really love cheese. But a couple of years ago, I figured out that dairy makes me really congested. I figured this out when I did a cleanse and cut out dairy for 2 weeks and then added it back into my diet. Cutting out the dairy seemed to have solved sinus problems that had been bothering me for years. It was unbelievable. Now, I haven't eliminated it completely because I really do love lots of dairy foods. I really love cheese. I enjoy yogurt sometimes, and as I said, ice cream. But now I consider dairy more of an indulgence for me. And I have to prepare for the fact that if I have pizza or another meal that's heavy on the dairy, I will likely feel congested the next day. It's not the end of the world. It's not a disease. It's not going to kill me. It's just the cost of eating the dairy. And in fact, as you listen to these presentations, if I sound a little nasal to you sometimes, it might be because I recently had cheese. As you learn to pay more attention to what you eat and listen to your body more, you may also learn something about what foods make you feel great and what foods don't really agree with you. If you get that information, then you can choose what you want to do with that information. There's no right or wrong answer. It's your choice. Some people might choose to eliminate a food that doesn't agree with them completely. Others, like me, might just try to limit it and be prepared for the cost. So anyway, here are some of the basic staples of my regular healthful diet. First, smoothies. I tend to make my smoothies 300 calories or less, and I have a smoothie for breakfast at least 4 times a week. Not always, because sometimes I want, actual food, something heartier or more substantial than a smoothie. When I first started with smoothies, I was sure that I wasn't going to be able to tolerate them because I'm such a food person. I just didn't think they would satisfy me. But if they have enough fiber and bulk, I find them to be surprisingly satisfying and filling, and they keep me feeling really good until lunchtime. Many people use bananas in their smoothies, but I just hate bananas, so I don't. The basic formula for my smoothies is unsweetened almond or coconut milk. I put in some fruit, maybe about a half a cup of fruit, about a half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of chia or flax seeds, ice. Then I throw in a couple of handfuls of greens. Spinach works really well. It's amazing how the flavor just completely disappears into the smoothie. I add ice. Sometimes I put in a scoop of protein powder. And it makes for a delicious smoothie. As I mentioned, if you like bananas add a wonderful textural component to smoothies. I also eat a lot of salads for lunch. My salads are mostly greens. I like, mixed field greens or baby greens. Then I add some protein, hard-boiled egg or some chicken. Sometimes I'll throw in a little bit of fruit or nuts, but remember, being mindful of how the calories add up for those nuts. And then just a little bit of dressing is all I need. A favorite salad of mine is mixed baby greens with grilled chicken, a little avocado, and some walnuts, and I use a little bit of balsamic vinegar dressing. It's delicious. I eat that one fairly frequently. I also make a lot of soups. I'll make a big batch of soup a few times a month, or sometimes I'll just throw one together in the evening. And the soups that I have are usually the broth-based or veggie purees. Veggie purees are great. They're really easy to make. You just saute whatever vegetable with some onions and garlic, season it a little bit, and then throw it in the blender with a little unsweetened almond milk or coconut milk, and it makes a fantastic veggie puree. Cauliflower works really well for that, winter squashes, but feel free to try any vegetable. I also like to make simple meals, so I make all kinds of one-pan meals like stir fries. And then in order to get more vegetables in me, a lot of times at the end of my cooking, I'll just toss in a handful of greens and allow them to wilt into the food. It adds more bulk to the meal, and it's tasty, and it's a way to get more veggies in me. I do make more elaborate meals at times, and I'm going to invite you to check out my recipe blog. That's where I share simple, nutrition and calorie conscious recipes. Some are simple, but some are more elaborate, and I also share some indulgences too, so I hope you'll check that out. Now, as I mentioned before, sometimes I go on a diet, like an I have to lose some weight diet. But I don't do this to punish myself or because I'm bad. I do it when I feel like I need it. It's critical to avoid judging yourself, and you'll learn more about this on my psychology page. I go on a little diet when I've overindulged, or when the scale starts creeping up, or if I start to feel bloated or sluggy, or if my clothes stop fitting right. It's, again, not rocket science. And because I listen to my body tells me that it's time to cool it with the pub fare and to scale back a bit. So I don't go on long-term diets because thankfully I've passed the point in my life where I let myself get too out of control. That's the whole point of this healthy, indulgent lifestyle. I don't get too out of control anymore. So most diets work for the short term. It's just for the long term that they become problematic. So sometimes I'll, over the course of a month, do a particular diet 2 days a week. Low carbohydrate or Weight Watchers. I've been on all of them, so I know all of them. It's actually kind of fun sometimes to go on a diet for a couple of days if it's a novelty. Occasionally, I'll go on a cleanse, like the Clean program by Dr. Younger, and I'll do that for between 2 and 10 days, depending on how I feel. Occasionally, but not that frequently, I'll do a juice or a smoothie fast, but just for 1 day. I can't take it longer than that. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm going to share some additional thoughts on the next video slideshow. Talk to you soon.